Every Airbnb host needs these house rules. House rules set guest expectations, they protect your property, and they could potentially help you avoid a dispute. So in today's video, we're gonna review the house rules that we've been using for years. So if there's any of them that you like, you can steal them and put them into your own house rules.
Hi, I'm Sarah Karakayan.
And I'm Annette Grant.
And together we are
Thanks for visiting.
We've been hosting for well over a decade, welcomed tens of thousands of guests, and earned thousands of 5-star reviews.
Our portfolio continues to bring in over 1.5 million year over year,
and supported not only by the industry's leading brands, but also some of the biggest media outlets.
And we're here to help you with your furnished rental.
Now here's the deal. Guests, as we know, they don't read a lot. Like you'll put where to find the check-in code or what check-in time is and various places of your listing, and they might still ask you, and since we're in the hospitality business, we will still deliver on those answers for them in the most convenient way, meet them where they're at. However, I do believe in a fully built out house rules section of your Airbnb listing, or if you're on Vrbo, especially direct bookings, especially if you are not having them sign an additional rental agreement. They may not read all the house rules, but if you are ever called out on a situation that might, where you need to defend yourself for being discriminatory, you can always say, these are part of our house rules. Every single potential guest who could book with us adheres to these same rules. It can also be something where if they've got a question about something regarding the hot tub isn't working, it's great when you can say, as per our house rules, yada, 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 yada. So just having these house rules, I almost think of it as like a contract.
Absolutely.
And each rule is a clause. And they may not read all of these clauses, even if you encourage them to, but at least they're there. So if you need to reference back to them to avoid a dispute or to set expectations or clarify a question they have, saying, as per our house rules that are posted on our listing, XYZ.
And they are there for each and every guest, so it remains consistent and fair. And last but not least, the house rules are not a place for all caps.
No.
Do you hear me out here, host? Not a place for all caps. We're going to use full sentences, have everything clearly defined. You're going to want to stick around for the whole video because we're going to go over 11 must-have house rules. Up first, the biggest one, no parties or events.
But I think what is not expected is that even though it's to be expected, you still got to put it in there. So Airbnb itself has a party ban, and so you want to make sure that in your listing, again, we're putting in yet another place that parties, large events, unregistered guests are prohibited in your property. And then you can also put in this house rule how you plan on enforcing it. So whether that's with noise detecting software or a device, or cameras, and exactly
exterior cameras,
where those cameras are located, and make sure we have a whole video on security cameras, so you really should check that video out. But having the cameras in a place where your insurance company knows that they are as well, because some insurance companies, if you have a camera in a private area, which some private areas include exterior, so just clarify with what your insurance company wants. But putting in there how you plan on enforcing this rule can also help deter guests who plan on coming and throwing an event.
Second rule is no local guests. Yes, you heard that right. We have a no local guest rule in our house rule, and here's why.
The way we state it in the house rule is we reserve the right to deny bookings from local guests because there is data that supports that a lot of unwanted parties and large gatherings are booked by people who are local. And so if we say in our house rules that we have the right to deny local reservations and tell if you are local, do not instant book, reach out to us so that we can have a conversation with you about your stay, so that we have it in there so people don't think that we're just picking and choosing who can stay with us based on what they look like, what their name is, but truly it's based on the fact that, hey, you're local, so we've got a little red flag up.
It raises concern.
So we need to chat with you further about this reservation. Some reasons why we might allow a local guest to book is definitely insurance stays, and usually they'll connect you with the insurance company so you know that that's legit.
Yep.
Home renovations, yes, but I have a red flag for my team that if they reach out, they're local, they have a home renovation, but they want to stay within the next 24 hours. It's like, well, usually you've known that you had a home renovation for a while. Now, I can see how maybe the GC pushed up the date. So you start talking to the guests, you get a feel for them. Obviously, if they have some sort of history on the platform before you book a stay with them. There are other things that you can do too to help you vet that stay, but local requests for us are red flags. House rule number 3 is security cameras and guest limitations.
Yes, and Airbnb requires this, and as they should. So again, exterior camera, never, ever, ever any sort of interior camera. But if you do have an exterior camera, disclosing that in the house rules, letting the guest know the location of those cameras, whether you have one or maybe you have multiple, but you've got to address it in your house rules. That way, if someone does come to the property and ask questions about it, you can, again, refer back to the house rules that you let them know about it. And also the guest limits. Most towns do have limits on overnight, per bedroom stays. And this is just, restating how many guests are allowed on property with the reservation. And, that's where you would use those security cameras like, hey, we just saw, 12 people came in and there's only 8 allowed on the property. So we want to make sure that we're reiterating if we have cameras and then what our guest limits are.
And when you come to the guest limits, I think it's helpful to state that per city code or per our short-term rental license to let guests know that even if it was just your decision, like that's fine, it's your property, it's your home, but that it's also backed by local government helps drive that home. And then last but not least, what happens if they do have unauthorized guests? If you do see that there are more guests on property than are allowed by your license or city code or just by your rules, whether that's going to be an immediate cancellation, a reduction in the security deposit, whatever that is for you, again, just putting in what happens if they were to break that rule, what could happen, saying it in there. That way, if and when it does, you can say, as our house rule states, XYZ.
Number 4, no smoking, no illegal drugs, or firearms. And again, these are the rules that we have in place, but you might want to switch them up.
Yeah, you can do your own thing, but for us, deciding, regardless, you should decide on behavior when it comes to smoking, drugs, firearms. If your state allows concealed carry, things of that nature, they're still coming to a private property, so you can still decide how you want people to act within your 4 walls, but have a policy in place and put that policy in the house rules. So for us, when it comes to smoking, whether it's cigarettes or marijuana, smoking of any kind inside the home is strictly prohibited. And you might even want to have something that if they do smoke something outside, it's at least 10 feet from the property, because if they've got screens open or you have a multifamily or a duplex, something like that where like the smoke could still travel into the home and disturb either your walls, your furniture, or other guests in the property. Illegal drugs, heck no, not even outside, not inside. And when it comes to firearms, we could do a whole video on this, but what's your policy? And then what happens if they leave their firearm behind on accident, no matter what your policy is?
Right.
Have that decided on before it happens, because trust me, it'll happen.
And in your house rules, if you want to put, if, for instance, for us, and this happens, like people do smoke, there's additional cleaning that has to happen. We've got to make sure that the property is fresh and clean for the next guest. So we do have a violation there. If they violate that rule, there's additional charge. That way we can get the property back up to speed. And this is very common. Like if you were to go stay in a hotel, you will see, I don't know what the rate is there right now, but on the back of the door, you'll see kind of like what they're, smoking prohibited and what that violation is there. And like Sarah said too, be prepared. Again, even though you have these rules, it doesn't mean people aren't going to smoke, that they aren't going to bring their firearm, but you've just got to have it in the house rules. What happens? Obviously, they bring the firearm. You probably don't know about it unless they leave it behind. So it's like if they leave proof of the smoking and the firearm, what's next?
House rule number 5: post your quiet hours and your property considerations. So posting your quiet hours is really great. So if someone is being a little loud on a Friday night inside the home and you get a notification, for me, we have multifamily. So yes, I understand it's Friday night. I understand most people are cutting loose, but in the apartment next to you, they're not, right? Like they're actually a midterm guest and they're a nurse and they get up early the next morning. So for us, it's really important that we say 7 days a week, it's from whatever it is for you. 8 p.m. to 8 a.m., 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. And actually, a lot of jurisdictions for short-term rentals have their own city-backed quiet hours. We do in Columbus. So it's, again, it kind of takes the pressure off of me being like the party pooper and say, per my short-term rental license, we have to enforce quiet hours from this time to this time.
The next thing that most hosts have fell victim to at one point in time is some sort of party decor from, confetti, glitter, people taping things, signs all over your wall. So if you put in the house rules that that's prohibited, that way it will discourage guests from doing it. But then also if people do use said glitter, confetti, taping, there's additional cleaning, you would have referenced that in the house rules. Our house rule number 6, and this is just a gem. So you wanna come a little closer, listen up. So extended stays for us we require bi-weekly cleaning.
We do. And you might be saying, guests won't pay that. I've been doing it for years and they will. Now, what this means, and you can decide on your own what extended stay means. So it could mean every 14 days you require a light cleaning, or maybe it's every 30 days you require a regular cleaning. But especially for you midtermers out there, we've heard so many horror stories of the guests don't change the bedding, and so that sheet is so dirty, it transfers onto the mattress if it doesn't have a mattress protector.
And why don't you have mattress protectors on?
You know what I'm
All your
saying?
beds should have mattress protectors.
So if there's an extended stay, we require light cleanings every 14 days, and all we ask, we actually don't make any money on this. You can if you want. We don't. Our cleaner charges us $50 for a light clean. It's like a dust, a vacuum, and change the bed and towels. Just make sure that they're changing their bed and towels so they're not reusing the same ones over and over again. Also, it gets eyes on the property. So we can say to our cleaning team, hey, make sure the bathroom gets a light cleaning so that the grout isn't getting out of control. The caulking isn't getting out of control, right? And if the guest is living with a heavier footprint, like they're not doing their dishes or something is happening that's going to impact that checkout, you can let the guest know ahead of time, like, hey, our cleaner was in there to do the light clean. You're not, and you should have in your rental agreement too for longer stays, it's their job to just maintain basic level cleanliness and have a clause about that. And if they're not doing that, let them know, like, we got to get this in order or we're going to have to take this from your security deposit. Or maybe it's a red flag for you not to continue their stay. But either way, getting that cleaner in there to get eyes on the property and do a light cleaning, and just whatever they charge, the cleaner charges you, you ask the guest to pay, and having it be a wash there is going to save you so much headache. I have had it where I'm in a more challenging season and I have someone interested in our properties, but they don't really like paying for the mid-stay or the bi-weekly cleans. And so I say, tell you what, I'll pay for the cleans, but they still have to happen.
Yeah, and as a guest, why would you not want that, right?
Yeah, because it's just so important to me that we have eyes on the property because it's furnished. I don't want to, when that guest checks out, I don't want to have a week before I can turn it around. Like for me, investing a small amount of money every 2 weeks or every 30 days to make sure our property is being kept up is really important. So having that in your house rules, if someone does reach out to you, inquires about your property, they want to stay a long time, you can say, as per our house rules, I want to make sure you know that we require
Yeah, you want to reiterate it.
Reiterate.
Rule 7, your pet policy, your pet fees, your restrictions. So you should have something in your house rules either way. If you allow pets, if you do not allow pets, because you want to make sure that you're reiterating to the guests, we don't allow pets. They might ask, heck, they might even bring one, so then you can refer to your house rules that they're not allowed. And then the reason we like to define everything inside our house rules about our pet friendliness is we like to let the guests know it's on a case-by-case basis. So it's not just anyone is allowed to bring their pet.
And your insurance might have restrictions too. Unfortunately,
yeah,
I love all dogs.
Yeah.
But
and
there are
pets,
some insurances where you can't.
And you could kind of say like pets, like you don't allow cats or maybe birds
Right.
or, iguanas, whatever, you can
these days.
take that. But we like to put the case-by-case basis. We also like to reiterate the pricing. So whatever your pricing strategy is for pets, we reiterate it there in the house rules. So when they do see that charge, we are like, as stated in our house rules, this is what our policy is for payment for the pets. And then we also have something about unauthorized pets if they didn't let us know the pet was coming. And then we also put in our rules, because unfortunately, pets can go everywhere in the house. And when I say go everywhere, I don't mean go, like go, but I mean they can be everywhere. So we want to make sure that our guests know, like, they're not allowed on the beds, not allowed on the couches. If they want to do that, bring their own linens, so they can use their own blankets, etc. Because pet hair can get everywhere in every sheet, blanket, towel. So we want to put some rules in place there if that does happen, if there's additional cleaning, what that looks like.
Other thoughts with pets is like, do you require them to take the pet with them when they're not in the property? Do they need to be crated? And if, you know what I mean, that way to avoid pet damage. But anything pet related, figure it out, put it in the house rules so that if and when there are questions or something happens, you can refer back. House rule number 8, no commercial use without approval. Why? Because you want to know who is on your property. If there are third-party vendors on your property, they might not be covered by your short-term rental insurance. You may not be covered by their insurance. You need to have a different certificate of insurances. Plus, if they're doing commercial activity on your property, that likely means that you should be charging a higher rate because you are now a location and not an overnight stay accommodation, and you should be making those funds appropriately.
Yeah, and this will happen. Like, we've had, countless photo shoots, people wanting to maybe have meetings, people wanting to do boudoir photography. Like, these are all commercial uses. People will ask for these things to be done, and sometimes they won't warn you, and they'll start bringing equipment into your home if you have a relationship with your neighbor, or cameras. You're like, wait a second, why are all these lights and people coming into the home? And then you can refer back to those house rules. Number 9, our house amenities and also the refund policy as it pertains to those amenities.
Yeah.
And I know you're already going, wait, what do you mean refund policy for amenities? Listen, it happens, okay? Your internet goes down. The hot tub stops hot tubbing. There are things on your property that, that you don't have control over that could disrupt the stay. And you want to have that outlined, what happens if those amenities were not available.
That way, you're not thinking on the spot when I'm telling you, when it happens. Now, I don't consider hot water or heat or AC to be an amenity. If it is for you, then include that in this house rule. But amenities for us are things like a hot tub, a sauna, internet. How about consumables? Mm-hmm. And so so for us, and you can choose what to do for yourself, for us, if the internet goes down, that's not a fault of ours. We have no control over that. No matter, like, for example, the hot tub goes down, you might say we don't have control, but we kind of do. Mm-hmm. Like, if we had a service provider who could come out and fix it within an hour or 2 hours, and there's no refund then for that. Or maybe I've been delinquent on my maintenance of my hot tub, and I could be accused of that. So when a hot tub goes down, we do have a refund policy, and we have how much they'll get for how much time they're without that amenity. Mm-hmm. But internet, for us, we won't offer a refund because we have no control over internet service. If the provider is out or there's an outage in the area, we say that we provide internet as a courtesy, but it's not something that we have control over, although we'll, of course, do everything we can to reinstate it.
This is also a lot of hosts, if they do have pools with pool heat,
right.
This is where they will clearly define if there is an additional charge for pool heat, and if said pool heat isn't working, what that refund policy looks like. This will just save you if and when those occurrences happen. And like Sarah said too, again, just basic amenities like, hey, this is what we supply in the home, and then if they need to buy more, they would need to replenish consumables that we did. We leave plenty, but if they need more, they're responsible.
Yeah, this is huge for like the midterm stays. Mm-hmm. So for a short-term stay, I might still have this clause in there, but if they run out of coffee and they want us to bring more, like, happy to.
Yeah.
We're going to do that. We're going to surprise and delight them. And actually, you can say, absolutely, as per our house rules, like, if anything is exhausted, we don't usually replace them, but we really want to make sure you have a great stay, so our inspector will be over in X amount of time. But I have this in there because if they're staying for a longer amount of time and they go through the 3 rolls of toilet paper we leave them, then it's their responsibility to replenish that. So whatever, again, you don't have to adopt our rules. We just want you to think about this because it will come up during a stay. House rule number 10, no mail may be sent to the property. Now you might be thinking, what? That's so inhospitable of you.
Listen, this is how a lot of illegal activity takes place.
Yes.
We have fortunately not seen it firsthand, but when we had a very serious situation in our community where there was a lot of illegal activity happening via U.S. mail or just all delivery services where guests were having packages sent to short-term rentals. So we want to have that in there. What we do like to provide, though, to be hospitable, let's say you do have a guest coming, they need something mailed, or maybe it is a longer stay, we make sure that we can tell them where like the Amazon lockers are, if they need it shipped to a UPS store. So at least knowing where those are near your property. So if your guest asks, you can have that alternative for them. But we really just want to steer clear of having things sent to the home because then you're liable for it too. Because who knows what's coming? You're the property owner, whatever. And let's say they're just having something sent to your home that's, I don't know, a check or something of value. You don't want to be on the hook for that either. And I mean, we even have a story where we had a guest that like put up their own mailbox because there weren't mailboxes. It's like,
yeah, we don't put up mailboxes at our properties, and they literally took like a command strip and like stuck it to the door, kind of cockeyed. So we came and we were just doing property walks, and it's like, what? No.
Right. They were a longer term stay. But yeah, we just want to advise against that. Again, it's super simple. Most guests aren't, it's not going to be a big deal, but the 1 or 2 guests, because they will ask, you have it clearly defined right there.
And house rule number 11 is that by booking a stay, that means they agree to all of your house rules. Now, obviously, you don't have like a signature. This isn't an actual contract, but it cannot hurt to have, again, everything clearly and concisely outlined in your house rules, and then having a house rule in there that says, by booking a stay with us, this means that you agree to our entire house rules and will abide by them.
And I know, like we just went through, it seems like a lot of different things, but like Sarah said, we want to keep it simple, we want to keep it concise, we want to use no caps, and we want to make sure that the language used too is very easily digestible for anybody that is booking your property. In the comments below, let us know what house rule you're going to adapt ASAP, and hopefully you're feverishly in your account right now making changes.
And at the beginning of the video, we talked about exterior cameras and their nuances. So make sure you check out that video because not knowing is no excuse. And remember, no interior cameras, only exterior, but only in certain places and if you're allowed. So check out that video. And with that, I am Sarah Carrican.
I'm Annette Grant, and together we are
Thanks for visiting.